Today, friends, we're once again at Walmart to buy groceries under $50 for 5 meals to feed your family this week. I have some awesome recipes planned for you, so let's see if we can go in and keep it under 50 bucks. Okay, so I've got my list here, and when I priced this at home, it came to $49.63. So I want to get some ground beef. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the 80/20. It is pretty expensive. If you want to get off for a little bit cheaper, you could do the 73/27, but you're obviously going to get less meat. They do have some yellow sticker meat, so if you ever see that, definitely, if you can afford it, stock up and stick it in your freezer. And then in order to stay under budget for the chicken, I'm going to get one of these 3-pound bags of boneless, skinless chicken breast. It's $3.31 a pound, comes out to $9.94. I want to get some eggs to kind of bulk up my fried rice a little bit, and you can get 6 eggs at my Walmart for $1.50, so we'll grab those. Need some elbow macaroni for our goulash, so I'm gonna go with the La Moderna for 50 cents. Thai red curry paste. This is $3.98. You can get multiple meals out of it, but it packs a ton of flavor. So this is the cheapest coconut milk at my Walmart. We need this for the curry. It's $1.74 a can. The old standby pound of rice for 92 cents. Pound of pasta for 98 cents. We need diced tomatoes, 1 can of these, and an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce for the goulash. I love a canned green bean for a side veggie. I love getting these Alfredo packets. They're $1.82 each, and I think it's honestly the best store-bought Alfredo sauce you can buy or make. This is such a great value, this $2 loaf of garlic bread that's already ready to bake. Okay, so a little bit pricier of an ingredient, but I am gonna get some frozen egg noodles. These are $6.63. This is gonna make a huge pot of chicken and noodles, so you're probably gonna have a ton of leftovers. And if you can find generic, totally get that. My Walmart just doesn't have generic noodles in the freezer. I fear that shrinkflation has hit the cilantro. Also grabbed a little knob of ginger and some carrots, some green onions for 88 cents, garlic, 1 bulb of garlic. Green peppers are 62 cents each, so we'll grab one of those. And then I also got some of these frozen broccoli florets. They're like $1.16, I think, $1.18 a bag. And we're gonna grab 1 lime for 25 cents. Okay, so I'm back from the store. Happy to report I spent less than $50. The total was $49.67. Let me show you what I got. Okay, so this is everything. The 2 most expensive items were the 3 pounds of chicken breast, and then obviously the 1 pound of ground beef. And then I also shared that the frozen noodles were a little bit more expensive also. But honestly, I think this is a pretty decent, like pretty largish grocery haul for $49 for sure. These are the meals that I have planned. Pasta Alfredo with chicken and broccoli, garlic bread, goulash and garlic bread, chicken and noodles with green beans, Thai red curry chicken and rice, and then chicken fried rice with egg. So that 1 pound bag of rice is gonna give you around 2 cups of rice. I'm gonna go ahead and cook all this at once because I'm gonna use half of it in the curry recipe tonight, and then I also need some cold leftover rice for the fried rice. So I'm just gonna give this a wash. So for the rice, I use a ratio of 2 cups of rice to 3 cups of water. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour my water in. And then this is the Instant Pot rice cooker, which I always recommend to people. It is paid for itself like over and over and over again. I use it every week, if not multiple times a week. I'm just gonna do white rice, and that should take about 40 minutes. I always like to prep as many ingredients as I can ahead of time. So we're gonna go ahead and wash up our produce. Okay, so here's what I like to do with the green onions to prep them. I like to just cut the roots off, and then I'll cut them kind of where the white starts to meet the green, because we're gonna use this part of the green onions for cooking and then this part for garnishing. So I'm gonna throw these in my salad spinner. I'm gonna go ahead and prep the veggies for the curry. So we're gonna use some of that frozen broccoli, but we're also gonna use some green bell pepper, some of that white part of the spring onion, and some carrots. So for the curry, I've got all of the ingredients prepped out here. We've got ginger, garlic, some onion, carrot, green bell pepper. We're probably gonna use some lime also. And then I just cut up a couple small chicken breasts. We're gonna reserve the rest for the chicken fried rice, the Alfredo, and the chicken noodles. So I've just got some neutral oil here in my big pan. I'm gonna add chicken. All right, I removed the chicken after it got done cooking. I'm gonna add my veggies. So if you're looking for ways to save money on groceries, you are gonna love today's video sponsor, and that is Hungry Root. I've been working with them for such a long time here on my channel, and even before I started doing videos with them here on YouTube, I was ordering from them because I just love how Hungry Root works. Hungry Root really takes the stress out of mealtime by planning a full week of meals tailored to your tastes, and it gets smarter with every order. They have tons of recipes to choose from each week, and many are ready in just 15 minutes or less, so it's super easy to find options that fit your whole family's taste and nutrition goals. You can go on their site and take a quick quiz. Their smart cart technology builds a weekly menu that fits your needs. It's just like having a personal meal planner who gets it. I want to share with you guys some of the things that I got in my box this week, because if you are ordering, I want you to grab these items. They are so good. This is a harissa falafel and tabbouleh salad that was great for a super quick lunch. It had cucumber and greens and this delicious tahini dressing with the falafel, quinoa, lots of great veggies in there, and then this spicy sauce. It was so good, and I loved having this as a super quick healthy lunch. Didn't have to prep anything, just pulled it out of the fridge and stuck it in a bowl. This is one of my favorite items that I get from Hungry Root. It's the green curry chicken with jasmine rice. I love curry, and this is one of the best prepared curries that I have ever had. It is so flavorful. The chicken is tender. I like to put it in a bowl and add some fresh chopped cilantro over the top. Really good and savory for a quick lunch. I also got this sun noodle ramen in the tonkatsu flavor. It came with chashu, and I put all of the things in the bowl. I added some green onions for garnish, and of course I had to add some sriracha. I had this for lunch the other day, and it was so just delicious, warming, savory, a little bit spicy with that sriracha, and made it the perfect quick lunch. So if you are nervous about back to school and getting dinner on the table and you want to save a bunch of money, this offer is for you. You can use the link in my description box below. Just go to hungryroot.com and use code JEN. That's going to give you 40% off your first order, plus you are going to get free gifts for life. Yes, free gifts. You can choose a free item in your box for life when you take advantage of this offer, plus 40% off. That is like a huge savings. So once again, I highly recommend Hungry Root. You can go to hungryroot.com or click the link down below and use code JEN for 40% off your first order, plus free gift in each box for life. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and add our garlic. We're gonna add 2 tablespoons of this curry paste. We'll cook this around for like a minute, just to get some of that flavor out of the curry. And then I'll add the chicken back in and some coconut milk and some water. So this is cooked a little bit. I'm gonna add my par-cooked broccoli. Let that finish cooking through, along with the carrots. And basically you just need to simmer this until it's tender to your liking, and then we'll finish it off with a few more ingredients. So we're gonna finish this off. I know this is gonna sound weird, but it's good, I promise. I've made this recipe many times before. You take a couple tablespoons of peanut butter and we'll melt it into the sauce. This just helps kind of give it like a little bit of a nutty, kind of a little bit of a sweet flavor. And then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, and then I've also got the juice of half a lime in here. So make sure that you don't add salt until after you add the soy sauce. And then just a teaspoon of sugar to kind of counteract the saltiness and the spice. We can also add more lime juice if we need it, or more curry paste. I'm just gonna kind of let these flavors combine. We'll give it a taste and see how the sauce is. Okay. good. I think, honestly, I think it needs more curry. And I only added 2 tablespoons because I was afraid it would be too hot, because the curry paste is labeled as hot on the jar. And then I also feel like it needs a touch more acidity. So I'm gonna add another bit of lime. All right, let's give it another try. That's better. I like that spice level a little bit better. I'm just gonna add a touch of salt, not too much, like half a teaspoon maybe. All right, curry is done. I think my rice is done. Let's plate this up. So this is gonna give you quite a bit of food, obviously, along with the rice. And I think the key behind this is just using a little bit of chicken and then stretching the rest with veggies. If you have a can of chickpeas in your pantry, or you want to grab a can of chickpeas, you can also throw that in here for extra fiber and protein. Chickpeas are really good in curry also. So I like to serve this up in bowls, like shallow bowls, especially when it's really brothy like this. And I actually prefer putting the rice on the top rather than the bottom, because then as you eat it, you can mix the rice in with the broth and it won't get too soggy. Also, make sure you garnish with some of that cilantro, but this is what's for dinner tonight, and it is delicious. All right, so we're gonna get started on the next meal, which is chicken Alfredo. So I took some of the chicken breast and just sliced these thin so I could saute them up. These are just seasoned with salt and some herbs and lemon pepper seasoning. So I've got a skillet heating up with some oil here. I'll just saute those on both sides for about, I don't know, 4 minutes until they're done. Oven is preheating for the garlic bread, and then I've got some water coming to a boil here for the pasta. Once the chicken is done cooking and resting, then we'll go ahead and make the Alfredo sauce. So this bread is super easy. You just stick it in the oven right in this bag. And there's enough bread in here that this will serve a family of 4 for 2 meals. So I'll go ahead and kind of par bake it. We'll save half for the goulash meal, and then we'll use half of it tonight with the chicken Alfredo. All right, so pasta's cooking, chicken's done. We're just gonna let that rest under some foil. I'm gonna go ahead and melt the butter for the Alfredo. So I added the milk and the Alfredo sauce mixed, and we're just gonna whisk this and cook it over medium heat until it thickens. Sometimes I like to add a little bit of lemon juice to here just to kind of brighten up the flavor a little bit, and I'll usually add some pepper as well, but that's it. Super easy. We're gonna put the broccoli in the microwave. So pasta's done. I'm gonna go ahead and drain it now. Sauce is done. I did add a little bit of salt, pepper, and some lemon juice. Cut up my chicken, so that's just keeping warm right here. And then I also cooked up my broccoli, just added some butter and salt and pepper. Okay, so here is the meal all together. We've got our rotini pasta, chicken, Alfredo sauce, garlic bread, and some broccoli. Is it protein pasta? No.
Is that what you add? Is that what you said?
No.
What did you say?
So we've got our meal. We've got our pasta.
You said someone before pasta.
I don't know, but it's not protein pasta.
You said...
This is a budget meal.
What's the type of the pasta? Rotini.
Rotini pasta.
I think you said protein pasta.
No, rotini pasta. All right, so tonight I'm making goulash. I've got my pound of ground beef here, and then I've just got this Dutch oven heating up with a tiny bit of oil in the bottom. Season this with salt, pepper, garlic powder, and some dried minced onion, and we're just gonna cook this down until it's fully cooked, and then I'll drain off the grease. Okay, so after the meat is cooked, I just kind of wad up a paper towel in here and smush it around to get the grease out. That's the easy way to do it without having to drain it into something or drain it down your sink. All right, to our ground beef, we're gonna add a can of diced tomatoes, can of tomato sauce, 1.5 cups of water. So to this, we're gonna add 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of Italian seasoning. I also added a bay leaf, a teaspoon of salt, and then we can add more salt later if we need it, and then a teaspoon of sugar to kind of cut the acidity a little bit. What I'm gonna do is put a lid on this bring it up to a bubble, and then let it simmer for a little bit before we add our pasta. All right, so this has come to a bubble. We're gonna go ahead and add our whole bag of macaroni noodles. Stir this up. And then we just basically need to simmer this with the lid on until the pasta is tender and most of that liquid is absorbed. So we'll see how long that takes. Probably about 10 minutes or so. This is done. It doesn't take long for that pasta to cook at all. I'm just gonna take out the bay leaf. And then I tasted it. I feel like it needs a touch more salt and sugar, so I'll go ahead and add that. And then I'm just gonna let this sit here for about 10 minutes with the cover off, just to kind of let some of that sauce absorb into the macaroni. So I just served this goulash with the other half of that garlic bread, and it turned out really good. Remember to season it to your tastes. And also, as a reminder, I'll have the shopping list and recipes all linked in the description box below for this whole video. Next up, I'm making chicken and noodles. This is a family favorite, and I always love making this on a weeknight because no one complains and everyone loves it. So I'm starting out in a big Dutch oven by just sauteing some of the carrot that I chopped up along with the whites of some of the green onion. I found some chicken stock in my freezer that I needed to use up, so I'm going to go ahead and use that and then supplement with some of the Knorr chicken bouillon, which I always keep on hand. But whatever chicken broth you have on hand, you can use for this recipe. You can use canned or boxed broth or the bouillon, or if you have some in the freezer, use that as well. I bring everything to a boil and then add the Reames frozen egg noodles, and these only take about 20 minutes to cook. So this dish, as long as you have the chicken cooked ahead of time, doesn't actually take a super long time, so it's great for a weeknight. I boil the noodles for 20 minutes, and then as it kind of gets to the end, the broth will thicken up a little bit, and that's when you want to add your chicken. So I took the remaining chicken breast and I just cooked them in a crock pot. And then I chopped them up and stuck them in the fridge. I'm using part for this recipe, and then I'll use part for the chicken fried rice. Now this part is optional. You can thicken this with a little bit of a cornstarch and cold water slurry. I usually like to do that because we like to serve our chicken and noodles with mashed potatoes, and that way it's more like a gravy. But if you want it more soupy, you can leave the cornstarch out. And at this point, you just want to season it to your taste. So add extra chicken bouillon if you need it, extra salt, pepper, whatever you think will taste good. I took that can of green beans and boiled that. And then I did have some potatoes in the pantry. So this is not on the shopping list, but I did use those potatoes to make up some mashed potatoes. You definitely don't need them. As you can see, this chicken and noodle dish makes a huge pot. And if you feed 4 people with it, you're definitely going to have leftovers. I served this up in a bowl with those mashed potatoes and the green beans on the side. Definitely like home style comfort food, but again, it is a definite crowd pleaser. Okay, so chicken fried rice. This is a great way to stretch rice into another meal and also use up some of those sauces and oils that you have in your fridge. And then I'm also using some of the carrots as well. So I have some grated ginger, some of those carrots that I basically just diced up and I nuked them in the microwave in some boiling water for like 5 minutes just so they're soft. I have green onion. I whisked up some of those eggs to add extra protein. And then you just want to start building your fried rice. So I'm just using a big skillet. If you have a wok, you can use that. Start out by sauteing your ginger and the white parts of the green onions. And once those have cooked a little bit, be sure not to brown them. I went ahead and added the carrot and then just tested that to make sure it was tender. Add the garlic and the ginger. I think I said ginger before, but I add that later so it doesn't burn. And then basically you're just building this fried rice in layers. So scrape everything off to the side, take that egg, dump it in there. I do like to scramble my egg with some sesame oil, a little bit of soy sauce, and some pepper just to give the eggs some nice flavor. And then once those are mostly cooked, just scrape them off to the side. You can add a little bit more oil and then just go ahead and dump your rice in. So this is the leftover rice that I had from cooking it earlier in the week. And you want to make sure when you make fried rice that you are using cold, already cooked rice. Now, if you don't have leftover rice, what you can do is cook some rice, spread it out on a sheet tray so it kind of dries and cools out, and then you can make your fried rice. If you make the fried rice with hot rice like that you just cooked, it's going to be very clumpy and mushy, and you're going to end up with a big lump or clump of rice in your skillet, and it's not going to be like the traditional fried rice. So After I got that rice in there, you just want to add some soy sauce. I have both light and dark soy sauce on hand, so I add both along with some sesame oil. I also like to season mine with MSG. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I always keep some in my spice cabinet. Obviously season this to your taste. You can add salt, pepper. If you want it spicy, you can add red pepper flakes. I usually just leave it not spicy for the kids, and then I put sriracha on my own. Basically, I took the rest of the chicken breast that I had. You can see there's not a ton left, obviously, but again, we're stretching this 3 pounds of chicken into all of these 4 meals. And then you're gonna have the egg and the rice in there, so it's gonna be a pretty filling meal. Go ahead and finish it off with some of those sliced green onions. You wanna add those in at the end because you're not trying to cook them. It's basically just a garnish to flavor the dish. Now, if you wanted to add something on the side of this, I would recommend maybe grabbing some pot stickers or dumplings from the freezer section. You can get them at Aldi super cheap, and Walmart has some good options also. Walmart also has frozen egg rolls that are pretty good, so that would be a good side for this as well if you wanted to add something else. But go ahead and taste your fried rice, and when it's seasoned to your taste, it is done. I hope you guys try these recipes out, and don't forget to also check out Hungry Root. You can get that 40% off. Just try it out. It's a huge savings off your first box. Again, I'll have that link in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.